Hi, I'm Jimmy and welcome to episode 11 of my sub 3 hour marathon series. Very excited for today. This is the last long run before my 2-week taper. I'm also going to test out 3 different super shoes to see which one I'm going to race in. So the options are the Nike Vaporfly 3, the Alphafly 2, and what I'm really excited for, the Alphafly 3. I actually feel a little bit sick about the Alphafly 3s. They're brand new. I haven't even run 10 meters in them, and I paid full price for them. They were stupidly expensive, $370. So normally I manage to get most of my shoes secondhand on Marketplace, but I'm sure as you're aware, the Alphafly 3s have been sold out pretty much since they were released. The Nike store had them in my size, so I thought I'd give them a go in a moment of insanity. So if I don't absolutely fall in love with them today, I'll sell them on. So the plan is it's a 3-hour run. It'll be about 39 Ks total. So big run. I've just done 90 minutes steady, and I'm about to do 3 20-minute intervals at about my marathon power, maybe a little bit less, and I'll do each one of those intervals in the different shoes so I can compare. So I'll obviously be seeing how they feel, but also I'm wearing the Stride foot pod, which will give me some more objective data so I can see which shoe I'm most efficient in. And yeah, it should be good. This is the biggest week of training, so at the end of today it'll be about 140 Ks for the week. So bringing in some fatigue, but feeling good and really looking forward to giving these shoes a go. So I've got all my drinks set up on a trestle table with the drinks that'll be on course. I've got my gels. I'm excited for this. Let's do it. Rep at marathon power. I wore the Alphafly 2s for that one, and yeah, it felt really good. Really big difference. Hey, because I wore my Puma, what are they called, DV8 Nitros for the steady run, and they felt good. But as soon as I started running in these Alphaflys, like big difference, really bouncy, and definitely feel like they help you along. So I liked them. Probably my biggest complaint with them is they just feel really heavy and clunky, and especially for me, because I'm a cadence runner. Like, my cadence is quite fast when I run. So at marathon pace, it's between like 195 to 200 steps per minute, and I think I really noticed that weight. So I'm putting on the Alphaflys now. Sorry, the Vaporflies, which are a much lighter shoe. So it'll be really interesting to see how these ones go. I haven't actually run in these Vaporflies much. I think I've probably done maybe 60, 70 Ks in them. So I'm not actually very familiar with them. So really looking forward to trying out these ones as well. And I've only worn them for faster stuff. So this will be, I think, the first time I've worn them for a marathon pace workout. But body's feeling really good. Like, it was really encouraging, even that steady portion of the run. It was right at the bottom of my zone 2. And I think I was averaging like 452 per K, and just felt really comfortable. So just so encouraging. Fitness has come along. I'm in a good place. And yeah, so I've already been running for, 2 hours now, and still feeling strong. So hopefully that continues. And you know what, even if I start to fade, I think the excitement of trying out those Alphafly 3s will get me through. So yep, next rep, Vaporflies, here we go.
Cut it a break. Call me in the morning, and it starts like this. Yeah, we've both been here before. Ooh. Oh, this is the last time I feel like this.
So second block done in the Vaporfly 3s. Feeling really good, so encouraging. This is shaping up to be the best run of the training block, I think. So these Vaporflies are very different to the Alphafly 2s. What I liked about them, they're noticeably lighter, which suits me a lot. They feel much more aggressive. Like, I felt like marathon pace for me probably was a little bit too slow for them to be in their like sweet spot. Like, they felt good, but I found they just felt like they wanted to go faster. Look at these bad boys. Oh yeah, So excited to try these. Yeah, so they felt a little bit less stable than the Alphafly 2s. But another thing I really liked about them is I could feel the plate a lot more. Like, I'm a heel striker, and I felt like they really encouraged me to strike more in the midfoot. That's what it felt like anyway, not sure if that's the case. So, I mean, I haven't looked at any numbers, but I suspect that these Vaporflies are going to be a bit quicker than the Alphaflies. And yeah, they just felt more like a racing shoe. The Alphaflies, I think, were more comfortable, more cushioned, more bouncy, but I reckon probably a bit slower. Oh, so excited to try these Alphafly 3s. Amazing. But yeah, the run in general is just going so well. I'm feeling so strong, which is really cool. So my heart rate still hasn't gone out of my tempo zone 3, which is super cool because I've been running for 2.5 hours now, 50 minutes at marathon pace, and I still haven't hit my threshold. So this is really encouraging. Before I celebrate properly though, I'm going to get this last rep done in these Alphafly 3s and see how we go. Well, that's the last rep done at marathon pace in the Alphafly 3s, and I am stoked. What a workout. Definitely the run of the block. I haven't looked at the numbers, but it'll be around 39, 40k. Felt really good. My knee's a bit sore now, but that's okay. So the Alphafly 3s, I like them. I think it'll be close between the Vaporflies and the Alphaflies. What I loved about the Alphaflies is they had more cushioning than the Vaporflies, so they weren't quite as aggressive, and I felt like they probably protect my body a bit more over the course of a marathon. But they felt really nice, very noisy. I felt like a horse trotting along. But yeah, I haven't looked at any of the numbers, so for just going off feel, I'd say the Alphafly 3s would be my pick, and then the Vaporflies. So yeah, I guess I'll just see between the Vaporfly and the Alphafly 3 which is the quickest shoe. But the I mean, I'd be happy to race in either of them. So yeah, that'll be a fun decision. But man, so happy, last run of the block, to finish it like that. I did get into my threshold heart rate zone in that last rep, but that is fine. I mean, to be honest, I expected to be in that zone on the first marathon pace rep, because I've been running for 3 hours. So really happy. What a confidence boost. I can't wait to get back, look at all the numbers, and pick my race shoe. So this is some of the data from the test in the form of a few charts. I'll talk through each metric. So this first one, running effectiveness. Running effectiveness is just a measure of how effective I was at converting my power into speed. So a higher number is better. A higher number means I was more effective at converting that power into speed. So looking at this graph, we can see that the Alpha a long way, especially compared with the Alphafly 3s, which is a bit of a surprise. Now, I haven't actually worked out the time difference that this would be over the course of a marathon, but a difference of that much in running effectiveness would be several minutes over the course of a marathon, which is pretty amazing. So all other things being equal, which they're not, but if they were, just by changing shoes in this, according to this graph, I will be several minutes faster in that Alphafly 2, which is interesting. So going along to the heart rate graph. So the reason we're interested in heart rate is in choosing race shoes, it's not just about how fast did I go in each shoe. There's the metabolic cost to consider as well. So how hard I was having to work in each shoe. And once again, the Alphafly 2s came out on top. I wasn't having to work as hard to produce the same power. And again, this is significant. So the Alphafly 3s, so this bottom line is the average heart rate. The orange line is the max heart rate. And the Alphafly 3s, my average was 147 beats per minute. and the Alphafly 2s was 142 beats per minute. Now that's quite a difference, which is interesting. And it's a similar story with the maximum heart rate. So coming down here to this last graph, the impact loading rate, this is just a measure of the forces or the impact that my body's absorbing as I run. So obviously a lower number is going to be better. It's going to mean there's just less impacts going through my body. Once again, the Alphafly 2s were the clear winner by a long way, which is really interesting. But does this tell the whole story? According to this, the Alphafly 3s were the worst shoe for me, and the Alphafly 2s were the clear winner in every single metric, actually. But I suspect what's at play here is the confounding effects of fatigue. So remember, this test occurred at the end of a 3-hour long run, and it was quite a big test. It was 75 minutes total at marathon effort, which is quite a lot. So for things like heart rate, I would expect that to climb. After running for 3 hours, 75 of which was at marathon pace, I'd expect that heart rate to climb a bit. Also, for the other metrics that are indicative of running economy, it's well known that running economy deteriorates with fatigue. So I just wonder, before I read too much into this, I want to do another test because it seems like too much of a coincidence that each rep things seem to get worse. I don't know if that's just down to the shoe or if that's down to other factors brought on by fatigue. So I need to do another test. I've come back to run another test. This time the reps are only 10 minutes long, and it's not, importantly, it's not at the end of a 3-hour long run. So I'm fresh, I've just done a warm-up. So I think this is going to provide much better data. And also, I'm just going to pay much more attention to how the shoes feel. I was so excited to try out the new shoes, so happy with how the workout was going on Sunday, that I wasn't really honing into how they feel. And to be honest, I think that's what it might come down to, just which shoe feels best. So I'm really going to try and concentrate, hopefully get some better data, and we'll see what happens.
Are you gonna stay here? Was that the idea here? Or was that one lie you told me the last time? Said I never felt like this. That was a lie, 'cause I hadn't felt it. She said, come when you get home. How would if I could, if I had lost my phone? My best filled with lots of nothing. You must think something I would. Oh, the love to fall out. I beg goodbye without a sound. And I never felt like this before.
So these are the results from the second test, and surprisingly, they tell pretty much exactly the same story as the first test. For this one though, I reversed the order in which I tested the shoes. But once again, the Alphafly 2s came out on top on pretty much every test. I was having to work not as hard for the same power. It was less impacting on my body. I was absorbing less force. The only one that's a bit different is this running effectiveness. And that's because there were some other variables at play. So if you remember from the first test, the Alphafly 2s had the best running effectiveness and the Alphafly 3s had the worst. In this test, that's kind of reversed. The Alphafly 3s had, well, the second best running effectiveness, and the Alphafly 2s had the worst. But I'm inclined to leave out this data point because of those variables. So really interesting. I was fresh with this one. The reps were only 11 minutes long. It wasn't at the end of a 3-hour long run, but the data told pretty much the same story. So is it as simple as that? Is it as simple as the data says that the Alphafly 2s are the shoe for me? Decision made. Well, no, we haven't discussed much how the shoes felt. And I think that's probably the most important metric anyway. This data, it's useful and it's helpful, but ultimately it's got to come down to how the shoes feel when I run in them. So I discussed a bit about that as I was going. But just to add to that, I was wanting so badly to fall in love with those Alphafly 3s that I think I was ignoring a lot of things. And you know when you just want something so bad, you kind of imagine things. So on the day, I think I said that I felt they were a good compromise between the bounciness of the Alphafly 2s and the lightweight, aggressive speed of the Vaporfly 3s, I think at the end of the day, the shoes just aren't right for me. Yeah, they're just not my shoe. I really wanted to love them because they look awesome, or not just because of that. You know, everyone's raving about them. Everyone loves them, says they're the best Alphafly, one of the best super shoes you can buy, but they're just not right for me. That was backed up by how they felt and by the data. And the Alphafly 2s, interestingly, the data actually backed up a lot of what I felt on the day. So as I was running in them, I did feel like it was easier. I did feel like I wasn't having to work as hard, and that's reflected in my heart rate data. So I think that's a valid observation. Also, the impact loading rate, the Alphafly 2s really did. I mean, they're really fun. They felt bouncy and just really soft and comfortable. And I think that's reflected in this impact loading rate score. So it was much lower than the other two shoes. And I think that accounts for that bounciness I was feeling and just the general cushioning. I think I even mentioned after one of the runs that I felt the Alphaflys would look after my body a bit better over the course of a marathon. Well, this data certainly suggests that that would be the case. It says I'm absorbing a lot less force in my lower body. So with all of this together, with the data, with the numbers, with how they felt on the day, the Alphafly 2s are the shoes I'm going to race in, which I'm actually really happy about. I mean, I said before that I really wanted to fall in love with the Alphafly 3s, but I also felt very guilty for buying them. They were stupidly expensive, as I've said. So it's great. I've taken them back. I've got my money back. The Alphafly 2s are the shoes for me. So I'm really excited. I've got everything locked in. The race day shoes are sorted. I know what I'm wearing. My nutrition has been practiced. I feel like I've got that nailed. My carb load, again, I've practiced that. I feel like I've got that nailed. Everything's coming together. So now I'm just so excited to get to that start line. But there is a big concern at this point, and that's my left knee. So if you've been following along the series, you may remember from 5, 6, 7 weeks ago, I had a bit of runner's knee, which wasn't too bad, but it did mean I had to skip a couple of sessions, and then it cleared up and it's been absolutely fine until the Sunset Coast Marathon a couple of weeks ago. Now for that one, I think it's a combination of a couple of factors. So number one, it was a big run. It was nearly 3 hours total, not the whole half marathon, but I ran before and afterwards as well to make up my long run. So it was a big run, a lot of intensity in there. So I ran the whole half marathon at marathon power. So that was about 135 minutes. I can't quite remember, continuous marathon power. But perhaps more than that was the course itself. It was quite hilly. So the course itself had more elevation gain than the Boston course, which is really famous for being hilly. So it's got a bit more elevation gain than that. And all those downhill sections just battered my body, battered my knees particularly. And I haven't done any hill training at all. So I thought stupidly on the day that I could handle it. And I really attacked those downhill sections, which in hindsight was a terrible idea. But I wasn't too concerned because the next day that all cleared up and felt fine. So I thought, no problem. And went about my training that week without a problem either. So that was my biggest week of training. Got through it all, no knee pain, everything good. Until the long run on Sunday, which is the one you've just seen in this episode where I was testing the shoes. Most of that run was fine, but right at the end, I did start to get some pain, which got a lot worse when I stopped. And this time it did hang around for a couple of days, but then was absolutely fine. I've done a couple of sessions this week with no pain. But then the last 2 days, the last 2 easy runs, has been quite bad pain in the knee, which is concerning because they've just been 50-minute easy runs. So nothing intense, nothing long, and that pain's been there. So it does actually have me quite worried. I mean, I don't want to think about this as an option, but anyway, I just hope it doesn't result in a DNF on the day because it is quite sharp pain, it is bad, and if I'm experiencing it after only a 50-minute easy run, I just don't know what's going to happen in the marathon. I mean, that would be absolutely devastating to have worked this hard for this long. Anyway, hopefully it's not going to come to that. I've made an appointment with the physio. I've got different support for the knee. I'm even trying magnetic therapy. Some people swear by it, so I've strapped some magnets on there, been icing it. So I'm really hoping that clears up for the race. Because yeah, that's my only concern. Everything else is coming together. I'm about a week through the taper. Just so excited to get to that start line. I am ready. Hopefully this knee holds up. So make sure you stick around for the next episode, which will only be a couple of days. I'm going to go through the plan, the race day strategy, everything I'm hoping to achieve, how I'm going to approach it. It's going to be a good one. I'll see you then.